should have known that something would have cut off right at the very start of everything. Hang on. Get that TM on over here. Oh, it actually got cut off a little bit. That's a little bit annoying. Anyway, hi everyone. I am Dan Metro Arnold, and let's get on over here to play. This is Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy for the Nintendo Switch. It is also available on Steam as well as on other modern consoles. And this is a game that I've been looking forward to playing since 2013, when I started getting into Ace Attorney as a whole, and I kind of got absorbed into the whole saga of Ace Attorney, and have been for the last 10 years. And I just dropped my Switch. Hi. Hope that didn't ruin anything. Uh-oh. There we go. Very good. It's never an actual stream on EMA Live if nothing happens that isn't scuffed. Alrighty. So, let's get the game full screen for me, and let's talk a little bit about some of the rules that I have behind this game. First and foremost, from the game selection screen, you will see that I start things off in the museum, because there's actually a lot of stuff behind the scenes. There's an animation studio, there's an art library, and there is an orchestra hall. To begin with, for this playthrough, I actually want to go into the art library and show something that's kind of exclusive to the trilogy. So, I don't know why, but there's no actual audio in any of this. But we are starting with Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. And for those that know the trilogy, there is in fact 4 episodes, 3 of which will be covered over the next 4-ish streams. I cannot count tonight. So, tonight, we are covering episode 1, which is Turnabout Trump. And I feel like I should make the full disclosure. They're referring to the Trump card itself, not to the political figure. Again, we're not discussing any politics whatsoever. But those of you that know Apollo Justice Ace Attorney, you will know why I titled the stream as such. Tonight's title specifically, let's get right into this trilogy, as we have Mr. Phoenix Wright himself as our client. So tonight we'll be covering all of Turnabout Trump. Tomorrow, or I should say the next stream on February 13th, we will cover episode 2, Turnabout Corner, and that does involve a little bit more of a lengthy time, so that might run late. And then February 15th and 17th, due to some scheduling conflicts, I am going to cut the 15th short, unfortunately. As such, we're going to run half of episode 3. Investigation and Trial Day 1 will be covered on February 15th. And then Investigation and Trial Day 2 will be on the 17th. So I intentionally broke that up into 2 streams. This is not going to be the case for all of the games, but it is just the case for this specific episode. Then 18th, of course, is going to be Survival Sunday. We will not be doing Apollo Justice Ace Attorney again. Then the 20th and 22nd, we will have Turnabout Succession. Again, Day 1, Trial 7 years ago, the Mason System, and then Trial Day 2. So I'm splitting that up into 2 streams as well, but that will not be until the week following. Now, I do have incentives for this specific stream, and I need to pull them up here so that way I've got them to read out for you all. We have 3 opportunities for a bonus stream during this playthrough. Those include 2 bonus episodes available in the Apollo Justice Trilogy, as well as a viewing of Asinine Attorney episodes from the original Spirit of Justice game. At 50 followers, we will play through Turnabout Reclaimed. That is the wrong button. Turnabout Reclaimed on the next Sunday stream, available after the completion of Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. There is a time limit. This will need to be played by April 7th. Meanwhile, at 100 followers, we will play through Turnabout Time Traveler on the next stream following that. And that will be upon completion of Ace Attorney Spirit of Justice, which is going to be about the end of March, sometime in that ballpark. Then lastly, if we manage to reach 150 followers by March 30th of 2024, I will showcase the 2 episodes of Asinine Attorney on stream for March 31st. The footage of which will be acquired from YouTube, and I will just be there to react and have some fun with you all. Again, this goal must be met by March 30th, as I will only be willing to do this on Easter Sunday itself. Now, with those incentives out of the way, I'm going to turn on the timer so that while we are playing, those will be on the list that stream elements will rattle off to us all as well. And outside of that, I feel we have everything that I need to address right now. So as such, I'm going to officially forward back on over to the Wright game in this collection. And let's start with a new game, shall we? Apollo Justice Ace Attorney. And of course, for this first little part, I'm going to hide myself. Episode 1, Turnabout Trump. I seem to be in a bit of trouble. Something like that. Dead. Someone hit him. Hard. Me? Please. The cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands. Should have come to that. April 20th, 9:37 a.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby, number 3. Home sweaty. I can admit it. I'm nervous. Good morning. Good morning, sir. You look tense, Justice. Wound up tight. Wound up, sir? No, I'm loose. I'm fine. That's noise. Is that your voice? I suppose it's to be expected. First trial, and it's a homicide. I guess justice doesn't start small, eh? I'm fine! I got up at 5 a.m. to do my Chords of Steel voice workout. I'm fine! Ah, that explains it. I did detect a certain rasping quality to your speech. Now we're doing it again. As you know, your client today is a good friend of mine. I wouldn't want to let him down, if you get my drift. Drift's gone, sir. I'm all over that drift. As it happens, I dined with him the night of the murder. We can't let this case fall through. Yes, I'm fine, sir. One more thing. Don't say you're fine quite so much. People might take you the wrong way. I'll be preparing our case. You might want to introduce yourself to the client. My name is Apollo Justice. If it isn't clear already, I'm a new attorney. And today is my first trial. Not that I'm worried or anything. The defendant has been accused of murder. My boss wants to help him out, of course, and so do I. I mean, there's no way he did it. Not him. No way! Whoa! Good morning. Morning. It's all up to you today. First trial, nervous. Him, cardiac arrest. I'm supposed to say something. Help? Don't ask me. I don't know what's going on here either. So, you're... Fine. I'm fine. Ah, Mr. Fine, is it? I did remember you having an odd name. Oh, we're off to a great start. Are you sure that you're okay with me? Mr. Gavin is a top-notch defense attorney, and he's your friend, so why... You'll see. Huh? You can do it. Be confident. I'm really sorry this happened to you. I mean, it's time. Shall we? Yes, sir. Okay, I need to focus. First trial, here comes justice. April 20th, 10 o'clock a.m., District Court, Courtroom number 2. Also, I picked a perfect time to do this because, technically speaking, this place is technically set in a futuristic Los Angeles, and 10 o'clock a.m. would be noon Central, so I picked a perfect time to start this. Anyway. Court is now in session.
Prosecution is ready, Your Honor.
The defense is fine. I mean, you're ready, Your Honor. Blank. Don't panic.
Too late.
Your name was Mr. Justice, and this is your first trial. Yes, Your Honor, but I'm fine, really. Are you quite sure? Your voice sounds a bit strained. Mr. Gavin. Yes, Your Honor. I was under the impression that you would be heading up this case. That was my intention, yes. However, a defense attorney must always accede to his client's wishes. And my client specifically requested Mr. Justice. Well, of course he wants justice, but to entrust his case to his free. Why? I do not exaggerate when I say that you are the best defense attorney in town, Mr. Gavin. Okay, so Mr. Gavin's got trial experience, fine, but does he have Chords of Steel? Let's begin. The defendant may enter the courtroom. Truly an unfortunate turn of events. I'm sorry that we had to meet again under these circumstances. Long time no see, Mr. Wright. Let's put the past behind us, shall we? These days, I'm merely Phoenix Wright, piano player. Mr. Wright? How could this have happened? I won't speak of it further, then. If the prosecution would be so kind as to explain the charges. Mr. Payne?
To think, I saw you enter this room a fresh attorney, and now I'll see you leave in chains.
Ah, Winston Payne. Subtle as ever, I see.
Ahem. The crime occurred at the Borscht Bowl Club, a Russian restaurant. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, took the victim, a customer, and he hit him. Wham! On the head. Smack! Killed him cold.
The customer at the restaurant, you say? And the defendant, you say he was?
The pianist for the club, it seems.
Phoenix Wright. The pianist?
This is the weapon that took the victim's life. A bottle of grape juice. The grape juice is apparently our defendant's drink of choice.
Well, the court accepts the deadly bottle as evidence.
Yes, that's totally grape juice. Totally grape juice. Because localization. Anyway, deadly bottle added to the court record.
It's something to note, Justice. All evidence is filed in the court record. Make a practice of checking it frequently.
Court record. Right. I've heard of that. And it's not like I don't have the controls up on my screen and I can read that as well. Literally, right button. So again, yeah, just like in the original trilogy, court record has a lot of important information. Also has fancy stuff like your badge. Smith's autopsy report. Shady Smith, male, time of death April 17th. Between 1:45 and 2:55 a.m. Cause of death, cerebral hemorrhaging resulting from blunt force trauma to the forehead. Anyway. Nope, I wanted to move on from there. Use the right button to look at it so far. I'm confident in your ability to handle this. Right, just use the button. Sounds like it's time for some hands-on action. Already did that because I did that in the original trilogy, damn it. I jumped the gun as per usual.
So, the victim was a customer at this restaurant. But just who was this, Shady Smith fellow?
We believe he was a traveler, Your Honor.
A traveler?
According to his passport, he had been out of the country for a number of years. He had only returned to this country recently, though his place of residence is unclear.
And he had some sort of connection with the defendant.
That, too, is unclear at present, Your Honor. We believe they first met at the Borscht Bowl Club on the night of the crime.
If they had only just met, then why murder? Perhaps the victim slighted the defendant's piano playing?
That doesn't appear to have been the case. No, the motive had nothing to do with the defendant's lack of playing skill. At least not piano playing. I'll let this photo explain what I mean. Ooh. As we can see, a game of poker was in progress at the scene of the crime.
Wait a second. Isn't poker gambling? That's a crime in of itself!
Uh-oh. Indeed, it appears that our defendant has fallen to become the basest sort of criminal.
Objection! It is true that the defendant was engaged in a game of poker with the victim, yet it was only that, a game, in the purest sense. A competition, Your Honor.
A competition?
Yes, a test of wits, a silent clash of passions. Only the cards, their backs reach the blue flame, know its final outcome. Come again?
The cards on the table had blue backs, Your Honor. I believe the defense was waxing poetic in an attempt to mystify those present and impress women.
That would be our first order of business here, then, to find out more about this fatal game of cards. Very well, defendant. You will testify to the court about the poker competition held during the night of the crime.
My pleasure. This is it. Our first trial. Here goes nothing. Witness testimony. Competition. I'm a pianist by trade, yet I can hardly play at all. My real job is to take on interested customers over at the poker table. The room where we play and the competition in there are the club's main attractions. The rules are simple. Play a game of poker using 2 decks of cards. That's all it is, a game. And our customers are happy. A pianist who can't play piano. Better than a defense attorney who can't defend. Very well. The defense may begin its cross-examination. Right, Your Honor. First cross-examination. Don't blow it. Are you all right? We're sweating bullets. Bullets? Where? It's a figure of speech, Justice. Your voice sounds strained and raspy, too. Extremely strained and raspy, sir. I've watched you perform cross-examinations many times. Though you've never done one yourself, have you? Care for a refresher? Ideal. Ask Mr. Dad for a refresher course on cross-examination? Doesn't really matter either way, but if you would like a refresher course, please. I'm sorry, especially this early in the game. Yes, teach me. I know nothing. Indeed, your job, Justice, is to be mindful of the court record and the testimony. Look for inconsistencies in the testimony with what the court record tells you. When you found an inconsistency, that's when you present the conflicting evidence from the court record. But I didn't hear anything strange at all in the testimony just now. It signs might be to press the witness with more information. That's him. Don't let the fact that he's a remarkable man hold you back. Get more information. Isn't Mr. Wright my client? Oh, think you can do it? Yes, thanks, sir. I think I can do it. You'd better, or we're going to have a problem. Just remember, find any inconsistencies, any lies in the testimony, and reveal them to the court. That is cross-examination. Learn it, know it, do it. Inconsistencies, lies. Phoenix Wright? As if. Phoenix Wright would never lie, and it's up to me to prove it. The defense may begin the cross-examination. Competition. Alrighty. So. Pianist by trade, yet I can hardly play at all. My real job is to take on interested customers over at the poker table. Hold it! So they pay you just to play poker? Well, that would seem to be the case. I am a professional after all. Ha! Do I detect pride in that statement? It's just odd for an honest, hard-working member of society like me to imagine. Yes, your imagination was always limited. What? I've played poker for 7 years in that little room, and I've never lost once. What? You see why the customers come now? Defeat the undefeated poker champion. It's quite a draw. That is, I'm quite a draw. Wait, you've never lost once? Not even one time? As I said, I'm a professional. For 7 years and not lost once? Is that even possible? The room where we play and the competition in there are the club's main attractions. Hold it! The room in the crime scene photo is an attraction? Well, it has quite a history, actually.
The Forest Bowl Club used to be a gathering spot for black market types back in the day. Black market? All in the past. Things like the black market are only on the silver screen nowadays. Suffice it to say that there were a lot of deals being made under the table. Right there in that room. Smoky room, gambling hoods, you know. Just looking at this picture makes me feel bad. Bosses gather around the table, cutting deals safe from the eye of the law. Meanwhile, Goon keeps watch through that small window. And I can practically picture it now. It does look like it would be good for keeping a lookout, but little else. The room had a few other tricks to it, though it was common knowledge to our regulars. At any rate, they come to play poker in a room steeped in history. Despite the dark past, it was all just good, clean fun. The rules are simple. Play a game of poker using 2 decks of cards. Hold it! 2 decks of cards? A simple measure to prevent cheating. If you alternate 2 decks, no one can slip in cards. There's something else that I noticed. In addition to the cards on the table, there are some scattered on the floor. Precisely. Cards on the table, cards upon the floor. Each one forming a complete deck. The crime scene painted blue by a sad sweep of cards. Poetic, really. Incidentally, we use 2 types of cards in the club. One deck of cards was red, and the other blue. As I recall, in poker, you make 5-card hands. I can see how it would be easy to cheat. Yes, a game of hands. Well, this competition you're talking about. I believe the court understands the nature of the game sufficiently. That's right. It was a simple game after all. Are you sure? Huh? People are not murdered over simple games, Mr. Justice. Defendant, you were in the room at the very moment the crime occurred. Yet you claim no connection to the crime? Well, that's strange. What's strange? I was testifying about the competition that night. Asking me about the crime at this point is against the rules. Of course, I expected to hear a cry of objection from the defense. Ah! Oh. Slip by. Don't despair yet, Justice. Sir? Right, there's something I'd like made clear. Namely, your connection to the case at hand. And I'd like to hear it from you. Sure. Why not? Very well. The defendant will amend its testimony. Just one little press. I've got myself a whole new testimony. I plead silence regarding the murder, but I will say I never touched the murder weapon. Hold the phone! Grape juice bottle used in the murder weapon bears the defendant Mr. Wright's prints. To that I believe we have a contradiction, and I have to say, objection! Opening objection! Damn, I'm good. So you say you didn't touch the murder weapon? This grape juice bottle? Right. So I said. Something the matter, Mr. Justice? Too bad our new defense attorney never learned how to play dumb. What's this, Mr. Payne? I examined the bottle in question, you see, and it was covered with the defendant's fingerprints. Objection! No need to shout, Mr. Justice. I can hear you just fine. I'm not shouting that, by the way. Don't worry. No need to shout, Mr. Justice. I can hear you just fine.
Excess yelling can damage the judge's ears and our case.
But what about my cords of steel?
I'm not shouting. I'm sorry. Anyway,
What's so strange about fingerprints on a bottle in a restaurant?
well, that's true. Prints alone don't prove that.
Oh, they wouldn't prove a thing if they were normal fingerprints. Huh? But the fingerprints on the murder weapon were upside down.
Upside down? What does that mean?
It means that he was holding the bottle inverted. And there can only be one reason for that. Yes. Brain someone with the bottle. Ah! Mr. Gavin, I think things just took a turn for the worse.
No? I see no problem, Justice.
Huh?
The only thing that matters is the truth. There's a good reason for everything. You'll see. Defendant, can you explain your fingerprints on this bottle to the court? I stand by my plea of silence regarding the murder. For now. Not very cooperative, are you? This could hurt your case.
I'm sure he's uncooperative because he's hiding something. There must be some reason.
Objection! Objection! Your Honor, you seem to have forgotten something. And what might that be, Mr. Gavin? On the night of the crime, who was it who reported the murder to the police? Reported?
Well, that was the defendant, Mr. Wright. But still, that...
Really?
Yes, well, according to the case file, the murder was reported from near the scene by a call from the defendant's cell phone.
Near the scene?
Let's take a look at the diagram of the murder scene, shall we? The victim was murdered in a small room in the basement 2 floors down from ground level. Of course, cell phones can't get reception so far down, so the defendant used the stairs in this hallway to go above ground. The call came from the first floor of the restaurant.
I see. And this is the phone that made the call?
Wright's cell phone added to the court record, used by the defendant to notify the police from the restaurant's first floor. The defendant could have just fled the scene of the crime if he so chose, yet he fulfilled his duty as a citizen and reported it to the authorities. And yet you claim he's being uncooperative? Ugh! I saved Mr. Gavin. I better not waste this.
I think the prosecution has toyed with our client enough for the time being.
Toyed? I assure you no one is more serious about... What was it that you said?
The defendant was in the room the very moment that the crime occurred? How can you possibly know this? Well, that is a good question. How indeed? The answer is simple, Your Honor. The prosecution has a decisive witness.
You're as good as they say you are. So someone else was in the room the night of the crime. That must mean they've witnessed the crime.
Everything up until now has been just a warm-up, Justice. You ready? Very well. The prosecution may call its first witness to the stand.
The witness will state her name and profession.
Hold on just a moment. Where's the witness?
I surmise that she has been frightened by the defense's demonic-looking horns. It's a reusable hair gel. Relax, people.
Have no fear. If any horns pointing your direction, this court will cut them off.
You are sure?
I swear it on my gavel. Please, come out.
Isn't violence against hair a crime, Your Honor? Well, if you're sure it is okay. I'm not gonna read this in a feminine voice. Fair warning.
Now, the prosecution... wait a minute. Would the prosecution care to explain the witness's, paraphernalia? Yes. Just one more button. She is a professional, Your Honor. These are merely the tools of her trade. And that would be... My name is Olga Riley. I am employed as waitress at Full Club Restaurant. Then why the camera? Of course, it is my pride to serve Fort that is naming restaurant. But I also perform, how was it said, other service. And I take it one of these other services is taking the customer's pictures? Take for example, this one. That's the defendant. Indeed. On the night of the murder, the man in white hat is one who's gone kaput. Indeed. That is the victim. Order! Order! This is quite a piece of evidence to casually drop into our laps. It's the same way as I drop cold water forged on laps of customers. Casually. The court will casually accept this as new evidence. Olga's photo added to the court record. Now, where were you at the time of the murder? I was in room. Excuse me? The hideout? It is one where the famous gangster bad guy was arrested. It's room where murder took place. What? You're looking for this surprise. It's lovely. We'll post the courtroom door later for you. That photos will be numbered and you will write which ones you want copy of. So there were 3 people in the room at the time of the crime. Victim, Smith, Mr. Wright, and Olga Riley, our witness. Mr. Wright isn't the killer. That means... Very well, witness. You will testify to the court about the night's events. Also, I completely flubbed Justice's lines during all of that. Oops. Oops, I completely flipped all of Justice's lines. Good thing I'm not actually reading this off for any sort of recording whatsoever. Ha ha ha. Testimony from Olga Orley. That fateful night. That night, a customer asked me to make... What? I swear I'm a professional. That night, customer asked me to deal cards for a game. It was cold. Both players played with hats on. Victim plays the whole time with his hand on locket at his neck. And then last hand is done, but something terrible has happened. That man flew at victim and is strangling him to death. Hold on. Can I do this? Do I have this working? Yay! I got this working. So. Cause of death. Cerebral hemorrhaging resulting from blunt force trauma to forehead. Yeah, definitely strangled to death. Anyway, proceeding as scheduled. Incidentally, who won the game? Isn't it obvious the winner was a victim, Mr. Smith? Objection! Objection! That's ridiculous! Because Mr. Wright can't lose. Justice? Maybe you can come up with a more legitimate objection? But he hadn't lost in 7 years! Take it from me, kid. It happens. I didn't lose a case in my first 7 years as prosecutor either. Incidentally, I have some additional evidence here. These are the poker chips as they lay the very moment of the crime. The hands and chips on this side belong to the defendant, Mr. Wright. Those on the far side belong to the victim, Mr. Smith.
Chips, you say?
Yes. Imagine that poker is war. Your hand is your army, and the chips are the spoils.
I know that. After all, in my youth I was known as the poker head of the courtroom number 3.
I think that he means poker face.
Looking at this picture, it does seem that most of the chips are on the victim's side of the table.
Chips photo added to the court record.
Very well. Defense may cross-examine the witness.
In fact, I think that actually did help me a little bit. That did help me a little bit, but let me check that photo once again, just to make sure. Yeah. So that is 2 full houses, by the way. Because I do know I am a bit of a card shark myself. That is 2 full houses. Obviously, king over ace. Or the kings and aces beats the 7 and aces. So obviously the opponent would have won with a higher full house. Anyway, defense may cross-examine the witness. And I will do just that. Because, again, as I mentioned earlier from the autopsy report, that night, customer asked me to deal cards for a game. It was cold. Both players played with hats on. The victim, he plays the whole time with his hand on the locket at his neck. Then the last hand is done, but something terrible has happened. The last man pulled the victim and was strangling him to death. Well, this right here immediately says, objection.
Objection!
Oh, really? Strangled, you say? Well, that's odd. Normal customers only choke on boast. No, I mean, this report shows that the victim died of a blow to the head. Miss, really now, did you witness the crime? That was actually impressive.
Looking at the picture, it doesn't seem like he was hit. And he's still wearing his hat and everything.
Yet, it is a fact that he was hit, Your Honor. Here is a photo that we took of the victim with his hat off during our investigation.
Well, that's quite the shock, isn't it? This head certainly was hit.
Crime photo 2 added to the court record. But I've seen it happen before. Oh no, I have seen it happen. The defendant, he lunged at a victim, his neck. Oh really, Miss Riley? I think I caught you in your own lie this time. Justice? I admire your enthusiasm, but perhaps you should think this through once more. What do you mean? I found a contradiction. There's one thing in her testimony that troubles me.
Very well. It would seem that we should continue this cross-examination.
There's such a thing as thinking too much. This horse is dead. Let's stop beating it. There's such a thing as thinking aloud too much, too. So that night, customer asked me to deal cards for a game. It was cool. Both players played with hats on the victim. He played his whole time with his hand on his locket at his neck. Oh! Hold the phone. Victim plays whole time with hands on locket at his neck. Then where's the frosting locket? Objection! You know, there was one curious part in her testimony, just like Mr. Gavin said. But what does it mean?
Mr. Justice, would you care to explain what it is that you're thinking so intensely about?
Recall the testimony, Your Honor. The victim played with, quote, his hands on locket at his neck, I believe she said. I hope you aren't about to raise the objection to the witness's grammar. No, but look at the photograph. You see a locket on the victim's neck? Well done, Justice. I'm impressed. I knew you'd be able to handle this. But what does it mean? If we are to believe this witness's testimony as is, then the locket disappeared following the victim's death. Lockets don't just disappear, Your Honor. It's quite simple when you think about it. If the locket is gone, someone must have taken it off, you know? Taken it off. Wait, you don't mean the defendant wasn't strangling the victim at all. He was taking off his locket. Wouldn't that explain it? Ah! Derek! Defendant, what do you have to say to this? Say. Yes? And I just noticed this, but you have something hanging around your neck, don't you? Oh, you mean this? Yeah. It's a locket. It's a photograph inside. Photo of my daughter. Come again? Yeah, Wright has a daughter? Mr. Wright, you have a daughter? My thoughts exactly! Don't worry, I already knew this. I already knew this, guys. Don't worry, I'm just doing this for the bit. We confirmed it at the time of the arrest. The picture in the locket is indeed Mr. Wright's daughter. So Mr. Wright has a locket, too. Why don't I buy that as just a coincidence? Well now, if the results of this poker game led to the murder, perhaps we should hear a bit more about the outcome of the game. A further testimony won't really be necessary. It's clear the defendant lost. Badly. Ms. O'Reilly. Whoops, hang on. Whoops. Apparently there was a bit of a gap in there. I missed that part. Ms. O'Reilly, you will testify to the court about the game played between the victim and the defendant. So, testimony 2. Serious competition. The game began with 3,500 points in chips for each man. House chips come in two sizes, small and large. The one who was winning died, was victim. The last hand, defendant play with all chips on table and lose. The moment loss was decided, the defendant grabs both from table and bam. Well, indeed, looking at this picture, it does seem to be a one-sided game. As the court knows, poker was the defendant's life. Failure must have been a bitter pill to swallow. Ah. How many times have I heard these words? I done it in a fit of anger, Your Honor, and now I regret what I done. Common tale, but true. He thinks the judge watches too many old court movies. Mr. Wright said he hasn't lost in 7 years, so this testimony must be wrong. The game began with 3,500 points in chips for each man. House chips come into a size, small and large. One who was winning. It was victim. The last hand defendant play with all chips on table and lose. It was decided the defendant grabs both of the table and... What I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to start and press, I believe. Remember we have to press this one. Hold it! Hold it!
Are the chips in this photo all of the chips that were used?
Of course.
Something's fishy with these chips. Should I maybe press a bit harder? I believe we should press harder. Maybe you can explain about these chips?
Explain? What is there to explain?
Objection! Poker chips are poker chips. They're not fish and chips, and not a chip off the old block. Not a motorcycle cop, not a... thank you. Now that I've pressed hard, I better ask something. What are these chips worth? Are they dollars or rubles even?
Yet, as I've been saying before, a scheme of gambling. Hard perhaps for a capitalist to understand.
Aye!
Two types of chip, 100-point chip and 1,000-point chip. It's not money, da.
Justice? Sir. I find your comment interesting. More ways than one, sir. I haven't added to a testimony myself. Well, the defendant will witness to add your testimony. Frost, yeah? Yes, I do think this deserves further scrutiny. Add it to the testimony. Suspicion knew where this was going with this. Very well, witness, if you would be so kind.
Da, Your Honor.
Cannot English tonight.
One kind of chip is worth 100 points, other kind is worth 1,000. Two kinds in all.
Well... that's weird. Game began with 3,500 points and chips for each man, but one kind of chip is worth 100 points, the other worth 1,000. 500. Okay. Six small. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 large. I believe we have a bit of an issue here. Because here's the main problem I have. For this, I'm going to have to go into my shady zoom mode here. So we have 4 small and 1 large over here on this side, and then 2 small and 9 large on this side. So assuming the chips would be of the logical value of 100 and 1,000. Math is not mathing here because that would be 1,000 points times 10 and then 6 times 100. Yeah, that adds up to 10,600 points. There we go. I have reason to believe that this is something worth an objection! You're sure it was the victim who won? Absolutely sure? Objection! It seems our new attorney is a bit confused. A glance at the picture is enough to tell you who won, if you're not in kindergarten. Just for safety's sake, would you explain the problem to the court? Of course, Your Honor. In this photo, I see small chips and I see large chips. Tell me, which were worth 1,000 points? Why, the big ones, of course. Duh. Oh, I thought so too. But then the totals don't add up. The totals?
let's review what the witnesses told us. Each man started with 3,500 points in chips. And the combined total value of the chips would be 7,000 points.
Yes. My calculations are correct. Let's see. 3 plus 1, 5.
They are, Your Honor. Now, look at this photo that allegedly shows all of the chips. If the big chips are worth 1,000 points and the small ones worth 100, and you add them all up, how much is it? Do it yourself. You aren't in kindergarten, are you? 10,600 points. The chips simply don't add up. This clearly contradicts the witness's testimony. Why? How could this be? Exactly, Justice. Now that you know the what, you must determine the why. Right. There's only one possible way to explain this contradiction. The starting point's wrong? The chip count's wrong? Hold on. 3,500. Each man began the game with 3,500 points. If all of the chips are indeed shown in this photograph, then there can be only one answer. Well, what is it? The value of the chips was the other way around. What? Want to know what I think? The small chips were worth 1,000 points, not the big ones. Madness! Utter madness! Show me that photograph of the chips again. There are 6 small chips and 10 large ones. Why, that does make 7,000 points when you add them up that way. Excellent work, Justice. It's almost as though you figured it out by yourself. Maybe. Well, I'm glad I was the one who just said it. Objection! But wait! The value of the chips may be different, but that changes nothing!
Indeed, the victim did have the larger number of chips still.
Ah! Exactly. If the small chips are 1,000 points and the large chips are 100, then do a little math. Add up the points for each side of the table. Ah! Ah!
The victim, Mr. Smith, had 2,900 points, and the defendant had 4,100 points.
Well, now. It seems that Mr. Wright was winning that night after all. That's impossible! My client had even less reason to kill the victim. After all, he was winning. Yeah! Now, Ms. Early, you must have known the true value of the chips, since you were there at the scene of the crime, weren't you? Honestly. Order! Order! It appears that our defendant has lost his motive, and Mr. Wright's supposed defeat never happened. We must now ask ourselves whether we can trust the witnesses. Excuse me. What is it, Miss Hurley? I did not want to be saying this, but actually, you see, see what, Miss Hurley? What do we see? In the last hand, there was cheat. Cheat? You don't mean a trick? Wait, do you mean a scam? All the same thing. Yes, there was cheat in last hand. Just why your game ends with chips as they are. Great. Just great. Lying, now cheating. Well, this case certainly has taken a turn. Interesting. Witness, you will please testify to the court. Tell us about this cheating in the final hand. One more cross-examination coming up. Witness testimony for the final hand. Testimony number 3. Last hand, both men had full house. It's 4 of each card in deck, from ace to king. You look at both men's hands, cheat is more obvious. Next moment, game becomes argument, da! The defendant's tick was exposed. He took bottle in his hand, for Mr. Smith. Ms. Aureli, why did you not tell the court about this from the very beginning? I thought I smelled the cover up here. Oh, folks, it's time to throw back the covers. A full house is a very high-scoring hand. Not easy to make, in my experience. That alone is enough to suspect less than scrupulous tactics. Mr. Gavin? What exactly is a full house? Lawyers these days, do you know your poker? I can't say this bodes well for your case, or career. What is this, some kind of secret court poker ring? Justice. You know the terms 1 pair, 2 pair, and 3 of a kind, yes? Yeah, no problem. If 2 cards with the same number makes a pair, and 3 makes a 3 of a kind. Good. Now, picture a hand with 1 pair, and 1 3 of a kind. That would be a full house. That doesn't sound very easy to make, does it? You can see each player's hand in this photo. Wow, we both have full houses. Don't forget, there's an easy way to make a full house, and go undefeated for 7 years. You cheat. The defense may cross-examine the witness. If he did cheat in the last hand, that still leaves one important question. Mr. Wright lost that hand. Whoever heard of a professional con man losing when they cheat? So, cross-examination. Alrighty. Final hand, cross-examination. Last hand, both men had full house. There's 4 of each card in deck, from ace to king. If you look at both men's hands, cheat is more obvious. Let's press on that statement here. How was it clear? Well, the defendant, he played 5th ace. 5th ace? Still, I remember both hands very well. Mr. Smith's hand had 3 aces. Mr. Wright's 2. Obviously, cheating was afoot. Or perhaps I should say, a hand. Your Honor, perhaps this can be added to the testimony without Mr. Payne's joke. Very well. The witness will add this detail to the testimony, please. Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces and Mr. Wright's 2. It has 5 aces in all. To that, you already know that's wrong, so I just have to say, objection! It appears that the witness is mistaken. Mistaken? My name... Look, this piece of evidence clearly contradicts what you said in your testimony. That's the photo of the chips, is it not? Justice? Perhaps you ought to explain your point in a way that the judge can comprehend. In other words, use your finger to point out your point. Yes, please point out the contradiction in this photo. What particular point contradicts the witness's testimony? Well, simply put, up here, we have 3 kings, 2 aces, 2 Wrights, 3 sevens, and 2 aces. Therefore, one of the issues has to do with this. Why, it's here, of course. It's where? What the frost? I pointed it through the... Oh. A good question. We've already heard today on the dangers of bluffing. Sorry, Your Honor. Let me think this. I think you best point out your point again. Yeah. You want me to point out the middle card. God damn you. Fine. Touchy. Miserly, in your testimony, you made the following claim. Mr. Smith's hand had 3 aces, but as you can clearly see, the victim's hand only held 2. Objection! Well, maybe the witness was simply confused. Perhaps it was the defendant's hand that held the 3rd ace in question. Objection! Take another look at the evidence. As you can see, the defendant also had 2 aces in hand. Where's the 5th ace? I see cheating, all right, and it's going on right here in this courtroom. 2 aces in each player's hand does make 4 aces in total. Hardly proof of cheating. Wait, please. It is true. I have seen it. The 5th ace. There was cheating, I swear to you. Well, that's odd. She must be lying, yet she is the most sincere that I've seen her all day. You're right to trust your instincts. Mr. Gavin? Who knows what lies in store for us in the trial ahead? Your Honor, if I may, I have a suggestion. And what might that be, Mr. Gavin? If you don't mind, perhaps we might examine the actual cards? Cards? Mr. Payne. Yes? The players' hands that night were set aside as evidence, were they not? The defense would like to request for the cards be shown to the court. Very well, the prosecution will submit this evidence. Which will you examine? The victim's cards or the defendant's? These cards don't prove cheating was going on. Nothing will. Which of these cards is more suspicious? I know the answer here. I know they want me to view the victim's hand. But I kind of just want to double check and make sure. Let's check the defendant's hand first. I know that they want me to look for the victim's hand, but the defense would like to view the defendant's hand. Very well. Mr. Payne, your evidence. Yes, Your Honor. Wright's hand. Well now, let's see what we have here. Right, sir. When examining evidence, be sure to view it from all sides and angles. Try using directional buttons and turn it every which way, and X and Y to zoom in and out. That should give you a better perspective on the case. Right, let's do this. Hardbacks are all red. For some reason I thought they were using blue cards in that final hand. Didn't you, Mr. Gavin? Huh? Oh. Which was it now?
clues here. Well, has the defense found anything they would like to share with the court? Not unless you count utter confusion. Perhaps you best examine the victim's cards next. Of course, you can always give these cards another look. Well, do I examine the other hands? Let's examine the other hand of cards. I guess we'll examine the other victims. I guess we'll examine the victim's cards. Your Honor, the defense requests time to examine Mr. Smith's hand. Granted, but make it quick, Mr. Justice. Ready, victim's hand? Don't worry, justice is always swift. There are 3. Backs are all red. Nothing on the front, but there is, strangely enough, a weird blue card that's here. What? Your Honor, take a look at this. One of the victim's cards. The back is a different color. Eh? Eh? That isn't possible. But they put the card in Wright's hand. Ack! What was that, Miss O'Reilly? No, yet. I merely said, I have eek. Your Honor? Mr. Gavin, yes? Tell me, what is the easiest way to cheat at poker? To cheat? I'll tell you. One merely needs a friend. A comrade, shall we say. Dealer. Wait, so you mean this witness, Miss O'Reilly, she is the cheater. Professional, I'd wager. Nyarg! Order! Order! Focus, Justice. Time to take advantage of her. I mean, her mistake. Thank you for saving that, Justice. Your Honor, please recall a testimony that we have just heard. That's impossible. They put the cards in Wright's hand. Ergo, Miss Olga O'Reilly conspired to cheat, not with my client, but with the victim, Mr. Shady Smith. Ooh. Not only did she cheated poorly. Therefore, it's not hard to imagine an altercation between her and the victim. What? Wait, you don't mean the defense isn't accusing the witness, Miss Olga O'Reilly, are you? Time for justice. There were 3 people in the room at the time of the incident. And if Mr. Wright wasn't guilty, then that surely means I am. The defense would like to accuse the witness, Miss Olga O'Reilly, of murder. Eek! Well. Mr. Payne, where is your witness, Miss Olga O'Reilly? It appears she lost consciousness, Your Honor. Mr. Justice? Your Honor, it would seem that you presented a new possibility to the court, one suggesting a connection between the witness and the victim, Mr. Smith. And that means this court cannot pronounce a verdict for the defendant at this time. What? I did it! I held out. I see no point in prolonging the trial this day. Prosecution will need to make further inquiries. Objection! Uh-oh. Mr. Wright? You can't end the trial here, Your Honor. Not yet. What nonsense is the defendant spewing now? Think. One of the cards had a different colored back. Don't you wonder what it means? Objection! What are you doing, Mr. Wright? Raising objections right when you're about to get off the hook? Ridiculous! Mr. Payne, you of all people should know Mr. Wright has a talent for the ridiculous. Perhaps we should get to the bottom of things. Let's clear up the facts about the game that fateful night.
As was said before, we alternated between 2 decks of cards that night.
That was said before.
The 2 decks at the club have different colored backs, blue and red. 1 color per deck. Why use different colored backs? Well, if we use the same color, the 2 decks might get mixed. So you use different colors and they still got mixed up? We used the red deck for the last game. I see. But that's odd. For some reason, I have this impression that you were using blue cards.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sure someone said something about blue cards.
Whatever. In the end, 1 card of the wrong color got into the mix, which means there was cheating.
Yes, a card slipped into the deck that would seem to indicate cheating. Yet, this card raises 2 serious questions. Apollo?
Yes?
Let's consider the first question, shall we? Think. In the last game, when was the card swapped? When? Well, there are 3 broad possibilities here. It could have been swapped before the murder, during the murder, or after the murder.
Well, yeah, thanks for the news bulletin, Mr. Wright. Of course it was swapped. Oh?
Might be as simple as you think, Mr. Payne, or it might not be. I'd like to hear what Apollo thinks first. When do you think the cards were swapped? When was the cards swapped into the deck? They were swapped before the murder, then they would have been noticed in the backs. They were noticed during the murder, then there obviously would have been some notice of altercation as well. So only the time that the cards could really have been swapped would have been after the murder. Perhaps it happened after the murder.
Objection! What's that? Ridiculous! What's the point of cheating after the hands have been shown? That's silly. Objection! Yes, but tell me, how do you swap cards during the game? I'll take silly over impossible. Objection! Take it from me, son. There's a lot of silly in this world, but very little impossible.
Oh? Even when the backs of the cards are a different color? If you pulled that during the game, you'd be caught in no time. Ah. Quite true. And that would mean that the blue card in question was swapped after the hands were shown, after the murder.
Objection! Okay, this is going past silly and straight onto crazy. I ask again, what's the point of cheating after the game is over? Who would do that?
Who indeed? And that's one of the mysteries before us. There's another? Yes, a simple yet decisive question must be asked. Who swapped the red card for a blue one? Who? The game and murder is done. The victim is dead. Only 2 remain in the room. Alive, that is. The defendant, Phoenix Wright, and our witness, Olga O'Reilly. Okay, so who was it that swapped the red card for blue? Again, if it was Wright, he could have just swapped it out for one of his own cards. If it was Olga, she would have known better. So it's reason to believe there might have been someone else. The one who swapped the cards was Mr. Wright, of course. Well, it doesn't seem like it could have been Olga O'Reilly either. What are you suggesting? It's hardly a logical conclusion, I'll admit. As a defense, I think it only makes sense for you to name as O'Reilly at this point.
Yes, I know. But she was the one who dealt the cards, right? I just can't believe that she would make the mistake of swapping the wrong color card.
And if the card was swapped during the game, it'd be obvious. Something you'd like to share with the court, Mr. Wright? Oh, my apologies, Your Honor. I was just thinking how much fun all this is. Objection! Fun? How about confusing? I have no idea what the defense is claiming, Your Honor. If the one who swapped the card wasn't the defendant, and it wasn't Ms. O'Reilly, then who was it? Yeah, well, that is the question, isn't it? Precisely. Huh? I believe we're about to see this case take a new direction. A new direction? We'll find that, indeed, after the murder. Someone swapped one of the cards in the victim's hand, and that someone made two critical mistakes. I'm sure you're going to tell us that the first was swapping the wrong colored card, because the one who did just swap didn't know the two colors of cards were being used. The other mistake was a number on the card. Right. The person replaced the fifth ace with a king. I'm sure whoever swapped it wasn't expecting there to be a fifth ace after all. All they knew was that the game had one full house. So they picked up the king from the table and swapped it in. But there is one problem. According to our case record, this person doesn't exist. True, not until now. But you have to admit the possibility of a fourth person. Though it's more than a possibility. There was someone else there that night at the scene of the crime. What? I believe the judge spoke truthfully earlier. You do make trials ridiculous, Mr. Wright. This trial is proceeded on one central assumption, namely that at the time of the incident there was only 3 people in the courtroom in that room. I believe this new evidence, shall we say, overturns that assumption. The problem is that you chose to conceal this information from the court. I suppose that is a problem, yes. The court is adjourned for a brief recess. Mr. Gavin, I'll see you in my chambers during this recess. Certainly, Your Honor. Very well. The trial will resume in 20 minutes. April 20th, 11:52 a.m., District Court, Defendant Lobby, number 3. That was quite unexpected, Mr. Wright. To suddenly claim there was another person at the scene of the crime like that. I must ask, is it the truth? Well now, I think you would know the answer to that. Being mysterious, are we? Sadly, I have no time for mysteries. I'd only ask that you leave the defense. I'd only ask that you leave the defending to your defense in the future. Otherwise, I cannot guarantee the outcome. I see you haven't mellowed out one bit, Kristoff. Justice? Yes, sir. The judge has summoned me to his chambers, so carry on without me. Be well, Apollo. Can I ask you something? Sure. That locket you wear, is that really yours, Mr. Wright? You're wondering about the victim's disappearing locket. Here, you can take a look at it. That's a picture of my daughter in there. Okay. That's awesome. I'm just surprised to hear you had a daughter. Well, most people are. Perhaps you'll meet her one of these days. Perhaps indeed. One more question. The one who cheated that night, was it you? What do you think? Huh? You know what happened 7 years ago? What I did? It's not unreasonable for you to think that I might cheat. I never, honest, but it is odd that he managed to go undefeated for 7 whole years. Want to know something? There's only one game where you can be dealt bad cards at night and still win. Poker. Eh? You see, poker is all about reading your opponent. In that way, it's a lot like a court case. Poker is like a trial law? Figure out what your opponent is thinking, and you'll win. Oh, yeah, but that's harder than it sounds. I think not. Try as they might conceal it, everyone reveals their true thoughts in the end. Their body language can become a valuable source of information. You're kidding. That witness, for instance, Miss O'Reilly. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? No. Come on, who'd notice that? Words, habits, twitches, it's all information for the reader. That's the secret to reading the opponent. Someone taught me, and now I pass that secret on to you. But I'm not worthy! I mean, there's no way I'll pick up on these signals. No, you can do it. Huh? You just don't know it yet. What's he talking about? But you will. Soon. Ah, almost forgot. One more thing. About this case. You should know, I haven't told the truth to anyone yet. What? I knew it. I have my reasons, of course. All shall be revealed. Apollo, I need you to be there, defending me. I need your power. My power? I had no idea my cords of steel were that special. It's time. The real trial begins now. Do your best. Except, we're gonna take a little break because I've been at this for an hour and a half. And, yeah, I need to get up and take care of a certain someone who is causing all sorts of mischief and mayhem outside my studio. So we're going to save our progress here. And we're going to cut to intermission. When we come back, we will continue with the second half of Turnabout Trump and go into the trial ladder. And then later on, we will be doing something special. I have a special thing that I want to announce as well. At 6 o'clock Central Time, which the countdown is showing up on screen right now, I will be live with Lord Navasa and the Board of Directors. So I'm going to have that little countdown going on the screen for this intermission. And then we shall see what becomes from there. Until then, you're watching myself at twitch.tv/DamageArnold. Going to take a quick break. When we come back, the continuation of Apollo Justice Ace Attorney in Turnabout Trump. This is the part where I would read any alerts if I have any, but as I have none, it is time for us to read through my usual spiel. Thank you very much for tuning in to twitch.tv/DanMetroArnold. You are watching DMA Live, and our first part of many in the playthrough of Apollo Justice Ace Attorney Trilogy. During this playthrough, we have 3 incentives for you all. Upon reaching 50 followers on the stream, I will add Turnabout Reclaimed to the list of episodes that I will play through. That is the bonus episode in Ace Attorney Dual Destinies. Also, on completion of 100 followers, on top of that, we will also add the bonus episode from Spirit of Justice, Turnabout Time Traveler. Then lastly, at 150 followers, when that is reached, we will play through the special episodes that were exclusive to the original Spirit of Justice game, Apollo Justice and Phoenix Wright Asinine Attorney. Those, again, are not available on any original consoles, and we'll be pulling footage from YouTube and reacting to those accordingly. That would be set if we reach 150 followers by March 30th. And that would be for our Easter Sunday special. Again, if we do not hit 150 followers, there will be no stream on Easter Sunday. That is the target goal for everything. And with that said, time for me to pop back up, say hello, and get rid of our countdown for right now, as I have just about 3.25 hours to get the second half of this episode underway. So, with that all said and out of the way, let us get my self situated and bump back on over to the Shadowcast. Continue to the next chapter, yes. April 20th, 12:14 p.m., District Court, Courtroom number 2. Court will now reconvene. Has our witness, Miss Olga O'Reilly, recovered?
Yes, Your Honor. Well, she's regained consciousness.
Perhaps we can hear her version of the events again?
That's the thing. You see, she's quite fatigued.
You're looking a bit fatigued yourself, Mr. Payne.
Sadly, fatigue is insufficient grounds for refusing to testify or prosecute.
The defense would like to request that Miss O'Reilly take the stand. Very well. The witness will take the stand. Perhaps you could repeat your name and profession? Or perhaps you'd rather admit that you're a poor liar and a poor loser.
Yeah, not. Name's Olga Orley. That's the truth. I'm a pro dealer. People call me Olga Quickfingers Orley.
Oh, really?
Want to know something else? I'm not really Russian. My last name sounds like O'Reilly. There, that's the truth. I hope you're satisfied.
Witness, you will tell the court what you were really up to that night.
Fine, I'll talk. We had a plan, see.
Let me remind you that you are currently under oath. Any further fabrications will have serious consequences.
Fine. Like I said, I'm a pro. That guy, Smith, hired me to do what I do best. I was planted at the Force Folk Club several days prior to the night of the game. As a waitress.
So you were in cahoots with the victim?
Not that he needed my help. Smith was a well-known poker player in some circles. But winning wasn't the main purpose of this game. It was was about destroying a legend, the unbeatable Phoenix Wright. The plan was simple, elegant really. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I was to plant the card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When the hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then pull out the planted card, and the trap would snap shut. You swapped the cards. Exposed as a cheater and losing on top of it, he would have been great double play. Just like that, the legend would have been dashed to pieces.
Indeed. Getting caught red-handed and cheating would cast doubt on all of his prior wins.
7-year legend destroyed by one little card. That was the plan.
Oh, really? How droll. But it appears that you've made quite the mistake. The mistake? I agree, the trap was elegant. Yet, what happened to that planted card?
Hey, that's right!
He's lucky, I'll give him that. You'd have to be slipped free from a trap laid by Olga Quickfingers O'Reilly. O'Reilly. The witness would be much cuter if she dispensed with the evil mastermind shtick.
Cute? Who wants to be cute? I'm not cute. I'm bad. You hear me? Bad.
Alright, fine. When you're through being bad... English. When you're through being bad, perhaps you could testify to the court. Tell us about this trap and how it was sprung.
How indeed. That night, I planted the card like I was supposed to. And Wright lost the hand, just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him. But the planted card was gone. Trap failed. The next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. It wasn't me who hit Smith. It was that no-good cheating defendant.
Surprisingly frank testimony that still leaves us mostly in the dark.
Trap was a perfect, I tell you. Perfect! That rotten cheater had messed it up.
Look who's talking! Well, the testimony, for what it's worth, is all yours, Mr. Justice.
With witnesses like her, who needs criminals? And with defendants like Mr. Wright, who needs prosecutors? Was gone. Trap failed. I think I want to press this statement. The card disappeared? Yeah, my trump card, the 5 of hearts. Gone, without a trace. Poof, zippo. We searched every nook and cranny, even inside his cute little hat. But the card was nowhere to be found. Is this correct? Never my long storied career, never has Quickfingers O'Reilly been so greedily duped.
Oh, really? So, what did happen to that 5 of hearts?
Don't look at me. Why don't you ask that cheating, lying, two-faced defendant?
So the 5 of hearts is still missing in action.
Next moment, Wright picked up a bottle and swung it. Hold it! Wait, isn't that a little odd? What's odd?
You searched Mr. Wright thoroughly and found nothing, which means that he didn't cheat, which means he had no reason to strike the victim.
Well...
What was that just now? I sensed something. Something wrong, Mr. Justice?
No, nothing, Your Honor. Should I press her a little harder? Miserly, you're hiding something. What are you talking about? You... Me? Quick fingers are really? Hide something? Objection! The defense will refrain from baseless accusations. I have one question for the witness, then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is that true? Of course it's true. I did see it. Honest. I saw it when Wright hit him. Ooh. With my own eyes. I saw it. What's that weird vibe I'm getting? That witness, for instance, Miserilli. She would touch the back of her neck during certain parts of her testimony. Did you notice? Touching her neck, was it? Whoa, what's going on? A sensation. Coming into focus. There, the twitch. It's so clear. I can perceive her habit like I couldn't before. Gotcha! Miserilli, perhaps you are unaware of this yourself. Unaware of what? Whenever you get to a certain part of your testimony, you touch the back of your neck with your left hand. My neck? So what? What indeed, Mr. Justice? I hadn't noticed anything of the sort. When she says that part of the testimony, she's subconsciously recalling something. Her body reacts to the memory. She touches her neck. I'm sure of it. Memory? Would someone care to explain what he's babbling about? This is highly unusual, but let's ask the defense. You claim that the witness is remembering something. Maybe you have evidence of this memory to show us? Her habit is scratching her neck whenever she talks about the moment of a crime. So, what will remind her most of the moment of the crime? Miserilli, whenever you recall that crime that night, you scratch your neck. I've noticed it happens when you think about the moment of the crime. There must be some reason behind this habit of yours. I believe the weapon that left an erasable impression on your neck was this. I mean... yeah. It can only have been the bottle. Whenever she talks about the moment of the crime, she touches her neck. And what reminds us more of that moment than this bottle? The murder weapon. But something doesn't fit. If you were the only witness to the crime, why would that make you touch your neck like you're in pain? What's he talking about now? If it was Mr. Smith, the victim who was hit, not you. Objection! This is a cross-examination, not a cross-wild conjecture. Witness habits? Completely irrelevant. Justice? I'll admit, I'm a bit confused myself. This is certainly a unique cross-examination. I'll explain later. Just trust me. Now's our only chance to break. Miserilli, please testify in detail about the moment of the crime. The very moment. Yet, I'm knowing nothing. Of course. We know you're not Russian. The witness will testify, please, now. Ha! Fine. He's the one who did it. I didn't let him out of my sight till the cops got there. Hold it! You didn't let him out of your sight until the cops got there. Then how did you make the call? Objection! Miserably, we have a record here that clearly contradicts what you've said. It states that the police were alerted by a report from the defendant. And we know that the defendant left the room, climbed the stairs, and made that phone call from the first floor of the Borscht Bolt Club. Ack! So, explain how you kept your eyes on the defendant when he left the room entirely. Eek! The man who picked up the bottle and swung it that night wasn't the defendant. Just then, Smith grabbed the bottle next to Wright. It hit me. When I came to,
The victim was already dead. Is that it?
that's why I couldn't reveal who I really was. If it came out that I was in league with Smith, I'd be a suspect for sure.
Well, where does this leave us?
Madness! This is madness! I'm dreaming! It must have been me who was hit with a bottle, and I'm imagining all of this.
Well, it appears that our prosecution is at his wit's end. And frankly, I can't blame him. Mr. Gavin, what do you think about this turn of events? Mr. Gavin? Sir? I believe that, as the defense in this case, we are compelled to call him as really a big, fat liar.
What?
Three were in that room the night of the murder. The defendant, victim, and her. And she has a motive. A motive? Her plot foiled. The witness got into an argument with her client, Mr. Smith. And the denouncement of that argument was murder.
What? I'm no killer. It's a trap. Someone's trying to frame me.
What tangled webs we weave when we practice to deceive. So tangled that we catch ourselves in the process. Mr. Wright? Such a hasty conclusion. It's not like you, Christoph Gavin. What do you say? Why not consider the other possibility? That there was another person in the room at the time of the murder.
Right. Mr. Wright was saying before recess.
A single card was swapped into the victim's hand after the murder, and the one who swapped the card didn't know two colors of cards were being used. The fourth person.
Objection! Ha! This theory again. Your fourth person doesn't exist.
Indeed. That's why I decided to bring this case to court. Here, where there's no escape, and no chance for deception. Perfect place to catch the real criminal. The real criminal? And we're in luck. The clue to the real criminal's identity was kindly provided for us. Right at the very beginning of the trial, no less.
What?
Apollo, perhaps you know what I'm talking about. Sorry. Remember when I said the fourth person who swapped the card made one critical error. He or she wasn't considering the color on the back of the cards. Right. How could such an obvious mistake occur? The cards used in the last game were red, and yet there is one person here in our court who thought those cards were blue. Yeah, I had that impression too. Why? Well, Apollo, think you can figure out who it was?
It's not me, I swear.
Who is this fourth person? Why do I always get put on the spot like this?
Yeah, you tell me,
Apollo. Let's hear what the defense has to say. Who was it? Who thought the cards used in the final game were blue? Well, Shady Smith's dead. Wright and O'Reilly knew that they were red, not blue. Winston swears up and down that it wasn't him, and yeah, for all of his experience, he lacks a certain presence indeed. So there can only be one true person, sadly.
take that!
As I suspected. Your eyes and ears are as sharp as your hair. I was right? Christoph Gavin, you were the fourth person that night. But of course Mr. Gavin knows the color of the cards. How would he? As you can see, the photo of the crime scene is black and white. You can't tell which of the cards are blue, one on the floor or the table. But look! You can see the colors in this photo. Yes, but when he said the cards were blue, it was well before this evidence came to light. Only that was a game. Here's the sense. Competition.
Competition?
Yes, test of wits. Silent clash of passions. Only the cards are backs of playing. That's my laugh. Well, Christoph? Mr. Gavin? Mr. Gavin, is something the matter? Hmm? No, nothing. Excuse me, it's just so sudden. Right. You weren't seriously accusing me, are you? Oh, Christoph. You know, even I'd never take a joke this far.
This has gone beyond ridiculous, beyond dumb. This is insanity.
The defendant accusing his own defense attorney of murder? I assure you, I'm quite sane.
What possible connection could Mr. Gavin have to the victim?
I wasn't aware that I had a connection to Mr. Smith either.
Yes, but Mr. Gavin and the victim had never even met.
Well, what if they had?
Huh?
There is a possibility, after all. They may have met that night before the game started. What are you suggesting? Is this the truth that Mr. Wright was staying silent about? Well, only one thing to do. Mr. Wright, the defense would like to request that you testify to the court. Objection! The defense would like to request no such thing. Mr. Gavin, this must relate to the case. How could anything happening before the game be related? I'm not sure I follow, Mr. Gavin. As I explained before, the defense believes in Ms. O'Reilly. Am I to assume that you speak for Mr. Justice in this? He is the defense, not you. Mr. Justice, the matter of Mr. Wright's testimony is up to you. Oh, okay. Does the court, in your opinion, need to hear Mr. Wright's testimony? Yes. Mr. Wright's strategy is playing this all along. I intend to see it through. The defense would like to request that Mr. Wright testify to the court. The two Justice? You would betray me, your teacher? Sorry, Mr. Gavin. This isn't about loyalty. This is about the truth. Very well. The defendant, Mr. Wright, will take the stand, please. That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. J.D. Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. The girl was knocked out cold, and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from a cut on his forehead. That's when I made another phone call. Defense Attorney Gavin. Mr. Gavin! You were at the Borscht Bowl Club in the night of the murder. I dine with him rather frequently. And he talked to the defendant on the phone directly after the murder? Quite against my will. I had become involved in a murder. I thought I might be in need of a lawyer, so I called him. Oh. Quite against my will, I had become involved in a murder, so I thought I might be in need of a lawyer. So I called him. You were planning this all along, weren't you, Wright? Just because you wanted to drag me into your little murder trial. The only thing I want is the truth. As I did back then, and now. I thought my office was doing you a favor when we took on your defense. It appears that I was wrong. Very well. The defense may cross-examine the witness. Justice? Sir. He's lying, and you're going to expose him. Understood, sir. Mr. Gavin versus Mr. Wright. This can't end well. No, it will not. Why can't I have a normal trial? Yeah, no kidding. No kidding. Why can't we have a normal trial indeed? That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. We sat at the table in this photograph. J.D. Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. When the trap failed, Smith hit the waitress. Hold it! About this failed trap. This is the same trap that Ms. Olga really mentioned. The plan was simple, elegant. You see, we set up a trap of sorts. I was to plant a card in Wright's pocket beforehand, and then deal 5 aces during one of their games. When the hands were revealed, Smith would call him out and search Wright. He would then pull out the planted card, and the trap would snap shut. You swapped the cards. Just like that, the legend would be dashed into pieces. Yes. A harmless prank in essence. It was by a quirk of fate that it happened. Well, it was by a quirk of fate that I happened to discover it. A quirk? I happened to put my hand in my pocket. Found a card. The card she planted. Yes. I snuck a peek at it and found it was 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card for them. Disposed? Where? There was an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. Empty bottle of grape juice? The murder weapon? Yeah, I rolled it up and shoved it in. Colored glass makes it hard to see. A battle of wits between the deceiver and the would-be deceived. That sounds like terrific drama. Card inside the murder weapon? That's strange. Did the police miss it in their investigation? Maybe I'll take a look.
have been since I drank grape juice. Apparently it's Mr. Wright's favorite drink. I wonder how well it goes with borscht. Literally nothing else. Please revise your testimony with this new information. Mr. Wright, the poker head of courtroom number 3 approves of your battle of wits. Oh yeah. Please revise your testimony with this new information. Right. Discover the trap during the game disposed of part of the bottle. Objection! Mr. Wright, if I may? Yes? I've examined the bottle, and I don't see any card in here. No? What, Mr. Wright? Surely, this isn't all you have to say for yourself? I can't say that I know what happened to the card. I did put it in that bottle, however. Huh? Perhaps a 5th person came and took it out? Oh, and a 6th person could have helped? Mr. Gavin, Mr. Wright is your client. My apologies, Your Honor. I won't have you disparaging our investigation either. We looked inside that bottle and there was nothing. So what's going on? Mr. Wright thinking us again? It's hard to just disappear. In any case, please continue the cross-examination. I'm afraid decisive contradictions call for decisive evidence. Oh. Push him harder, Justice. Break him. It's just you and the witness in the ring. Go for the KO. Why do I get the feeling we're not on your client's side anymore? That evening, Kristoff and I had dinner. Sat at the table in his courtroom. Chitty Smith walked in 5 minutes after Kristoff left. Discovered the trap in the game and disposed of the card in the bottle. The girl was knocked out cold and Smith was uncontrollable. I left to call the police. When I returned, he was dead, blood streaming from the cut on his forehead. How did he know about the cut? Objection! Mr. Wright, if I may. Yes? Take another look at this photograph of the crime scene. See the victim here? He is wearing a hat. I wouldn't think you could see blood on his forehead. Good point. Justice. Next time you point out an inconsistency, put a little more oomph into it. Mr. Wright, can you explain this to the court? Ah, I forgot to mention something. I was the one who put that hat on his head. Eh? You? You put the hat on the dead man's head? I only wore it through our entire poker game. After calling the police when I returned to the scene, his head was in full view. Shining bright, just like in this photograph. And I picked his hat up off the floor and put it back on his head.
Why would you do such a thing like that?
All I can say is, I'm sorry. But that's the only thing I touched at the crime scene. So, Gavin? Pardon. It just seems that our client is determined to lie his way through this case. Hey, he's still our client, isn't he? I believe that's enough of that. Mr. Gavin? This witness's testimony is more like a travesty. It's riddled with lies. I'm beginning to see how you came to lose your attorney's badge 7 years ago. Well, you certainly have a unique way of treating your clients, Kristoff. I never knew. I believe it's you who threw the first stone. Mr. Wright, if you intend to ever tell the truth about this case, it's now or never. Don't be misled. I haven't told a single lie here. Eh? When I noticed the trap, I put the card in the bottle to dispose of it. And when I put the hat on the victim's head, let's just say I had a reason for doing that as well. A reason? That reason is right here. Your cell phone? That night, recall that I spoke with Defense Attorney Gavin after calling the police. Just in case, I recorded our conversation. What's this? Now that we're all here, I'd see no reason why I shouldn't play it back in court. Kristoff, I seem to be in a bit of trouble. What's this? Game not going well? Something like that. That gentleman who challenged you, he turned out to be good? He turned out to be dead. Someone hit him. Hard. You mean someone cracked that flawless bone china pet? It wasn't you, was it? Me? Please. The cops should be here any minute. I'm in your hands. Should it come to that. Bone china plate. Kind of porcelain, very smooth and shiny. And not plate, but pate. I believe he was referring to a certain gentleman's balding forehead. The court appreciates the defense's discretion in not indicating my forehead. Wait a second. Something's not right about that phone call. So, after Mr. Gavin ate dinner with you, he left the Borscht Bowl Club. Most certainly. Then how did he know? When did he see this bone china pet? Bone china pate. Probably bone china pate instead of plate, because that's where the pun is getting misheard. Oh, that's right. Yes. That was when I began to see my good friend in a different light. Troubled, I returned to the crime scene. When I spotted Mr. Smith's head again, I realized exactly what was wrong. Well, Mr. Gavin, the stage has been set. Perhaps you would like to explain this to the court? Exactly how did you come by your privileged knowledge of the victim's head? So, this is the reason why you put the victim's hat on. Your point, Mr. Gavin? It's come down to this, has it, Phoenix Wright? Order! I will have order. Mr. Payne. Yes, Your Honor. I believe this court has been left with no other choice. Are you prepared to hear Defense Attorney Gavin's testimony? As a prosecutor, Very well. We'll break for 10 minutes, after which Mr. Gavin will take the stand for a cross-examination. Are we all clear on that? Crystal clear, Your Honor. Very well. This will be the final recess for the day. Not really. I'm going to play through. April 20th, 2:32 p.m. in District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 3. Mr. Gavin and Mr. Wright are both in the judge's chamber. I thought today would turn out like this.
May I?
Huh? What? Hello, sir. Please, pick a card. What's all this about? Is this one okay? Excellent. I have a message for you. The last hand is about to be played. You'll need a trump card to make it. A trump card? The card you have chosen is magical. Use it wisely, and the game is yours. That's all. An ace. Where do I remember that card from? Mr. Smith's hand has 3 aces and Mr. Wright's 2. It has 5 aces in all. It is true. I have seen it. The 5th ace. It was cheating. I swear to you. Aha! Missing 5th ace! Wait, this blotch of red. Is this blood? You have your trump card. Now it's up to you to cut the deck and draw the truth. While this fate is in your hands, I know you can do it. This bloodstained card. It's my trump card for finding the truth. I fell deep into thought, and my mind raced to understand what this all meant. That girl. I'd seen her recently, but where? That's when I made the connection. Bloody ace added to the court record. Court will now reconvene. Defense Attorney Christoph Gavin, will you please take the stand? Now then, if you would, Mr. Payne.
Yes,
Your Honor.
will Mr. Witness state his name and occupation?
Is this farce necessary, Your Honor? Believe me, far stranger things have gone on in this court. Fine, I'll play along. First, there's one thing we need to have made clear. How did you know about the secret beneath the victim's hat? Secret, I'm guessing, means the fact that Mr. Smith was fault. Forgive my curiosity, but what is it about this fellow's head? Your Honor seems to have an inordinate interest in it.
Objection!
I wouldn't call it inordinate, Mr. Gavin.
No! Oh!
Okay. Took us 2.5 hours when we finally get this. Mr. Wright! What do you think you're doing, Wright? Wow, things sure look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo? Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. The victim wore that hat all night, never once taking it off, except for that one time. One time, being the incident he was hit. Oh. When Mr. Wright returned from reporting the crime, the hat was lying on the floor. Mr. Wright picked it up and placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to have seen Mr. Smith's bald head, you would have had to have been there in the hideout at the time of the crime. In other words, I must be the real killer. Is that what you're trying to say? Not bad, Apollo. Mr. Gavin? I'm afraid that I haven't been entirely honest with the court.
What?
Oh, I assure you I had the noblest of intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. Yet, I'm afraid in the current situation, I see little reason to hide anything. Very well. Allow me to tell you the truth of what happened. Finally, you may begin your testimony. Tell us, how were you involved in the events of that fateful night? The rage I sensed in that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked in through the little window to the hideout. It must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead, as it appears in the photo. Bald head, unconscious girl, and Wright, holding a bottle in his hand. Since that was not the best for me to be at the time, so I left. That's when the call came from Wright. So, you witnessed the murder? For better or worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed. Mr. Gavin, may I remind you that you are on Mr. Wright's defense team. Your testimony is clearly disadvantageous.
Why must you use such complicated words? God damn it.
Your testimony is clearly disadvantageous to your client. What else could I say? I'm standing on the witness stand, after all. So you are, Mr. Gavin. And you had to testify, as you just did. You had to tell him you saw the scene of the crime through that little window. Mr. Wright? You had to say that, because that was the only probable window of opportunity. Right, Apollo? Oh. Mr. Wright, the defense should do the cross-examination, not the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared? Yes, Your Honor. I can't believe I'm going up against Mr. Gavin. This trial is getting weirder and weirder. The rage I sensed in that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked in through the little window to the hideout. Look, not really. Must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. A bald head and unconscious girl was Wright, holding a bottle in his hand. Hold it! Those were the only three at the scene of the crime. Yes, as far as I saw, at least.
Then we're back where we started.
The killer was the defendant, Phoenix Wright.
Who else could it have been? But why didn't you talk to the police?
Two reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the very moment of the crime. Second, my office was asked to defend Wright. And after seeing what I had seen, I couldn't abandon my friend.
Objection!
Objection! There must have been someone else there at the moment of the crime. Justice, I just said I saw no one, not a soul. But that goes against what Mr. Wright has said. Ah, yes, this mysterious fourth person. Who would conveniently be the real killer, I suppose? Glad to see we agree, Mr. Gavin. Let me pose a question then. Tell me, what possible reason did the real killer have to swap the card in his hand? Perhaps you can show us a reason why such a thing would be necessary? How can I show something I can't find myself? Remember, Apollo, the card that was swapped out was an ace. Ace, right. Well, Mr. Justice, the question of why the killer would swap out a card has been raised. You point to a reason? It's now or never. The defense would like to present evidence to the court. Evidence showing the reason why a card was swapped out.
Go ahead and point out your reason, Mr. Justice. Why did the killer take the 5th ace?
Obviously, they got blood on the damn card. The reason is, this. Is that an ace?
Why, it's got blood on it. Right next to the spade. What?
That's insane! Why wasn't I told about this? Why?
Could this be the missing 5th ace?
Inconceivable! How could you? What are you doing with that card? Well, that's the thing. Why is Mr. Gavin so upset? It's just a fishy card from some fishy girl.
Oh, that card? It's mine. That is, I picked it up at the Force Boat Club that night after the murder had occurred. I gave it to my daughter. Cards are for stock and trade, after all.
Objection! No! Impossible! Unacceptable! The court can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud!
Fraud? How can you be so sure?
What?
I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. Allow me to elaborate. What if this trace of blood wasn't the reason? The reason for the killer to take the card from the scene of the crime. Where are you going with this? Take another look at the photo, and at the victim's head. At the moment of the crime, his hat fell to the floor. A trickle of blood ran from his forehead down the back of his head. Couldn't a drop of that blood have fallen on one of the cards? I suppose. The killer then took the card to hide the blood.
Objection! Regardless, that evidence is non-permissible.
Oh?
Right. Regardless of how you wasted the last 7 years, you used to be a lawyer. You know what a serious crime it is to conceal evidence.
Oh, we can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is that I've answered your question.
What are you talking about?
You wanted to know why the killer would have taken a card from the crime scene. And now, I told you. One drop of blood would have been decisive evidence.
Objection! This is baseless conjecture. Baseless! Objection!
Oh, I assure you it's quite based.
What?
It's amazing, really, how a single drop of blood on a single card can lead us to the truth. It's quite simple. Well, Apollo?
Yeah.
Try picturing the scene of a crime. In your head. The murder took place in the hideout. The body of the luckless victim was found at the poker table. And before the killer swapped a card out, there was a single card with a drop of blood on it in the victim's hand. Given this, there is one decisive problem with this scene. Well, what is it? Let's keep it simple, shall we? Given that there was a drop of blood on a card, whose position in this diagram doesn't fit? The victims? The killers? The witnesses? Whose position doesn't fit with the bloody card? Well, isn't it the victim's position that's the problem? I don't follow your logic here, Mr. Justice. Well, look, the victim was struck on the head, sending him back in his chair. You'd think any blood would fall behind the body, not onto the table in front of him. Ah! Take a look at the photo again. If he bled in this position, the blood would fall on the floor, not on the cards. Why, that's right. So, what does that mean? Incidentally, we were sitting in swivel chairs. Swivel chairs? Oh, man. Apollo, try turning the chair around.
chair was facing the other way?
It would have to be. So we have to assume that at the time of the murder, the victim's chair was facing away from the table.
When Mr. Wright returned from informing the police, which way was the chair facing?
When I came back to the room, the body was facing as seen in this photo. And that would mean that the killer turned the chair back around.
Let's take the next step. Look at the diagram once more. We know now the victim was facing away from the table at the time of the murder. But this creates another significant contradiction.
Again?
Let's test your reasoning skills again, shall we? Apollo, whose location on this diagram contradicts our new understanding of the crime? The victims, the killers, the witnesses, the second witness? Whose location creates a problem? Well, it would really have to be this guy. The victim was struck from the front, correct?
Indeed.
Well, wouldn't it be hard for the killer to hit him from the front? Sitting where his indicator currently is? I would think it'd be quite hard, yes.
Yes, but what you're saying makes no sense. Why would the victim suddenly turn to face a wall in the middle of a game?
I believe a sufficient reason will soon come to light.
What?
There's something in this diagram that makes far less sense, actually. Look again at the diagram. Apollo, if the victim was struck while he was sitting as shown here, where would his assailant be standing? Show it to me on the diagram.
What? But
There's no room to put a mark where the killer should be. Don't worry. Let's think it through and see what we find. We know the victim was facing toward the wall at the time of the crime. And that's the only thing we know for sure. Try to forget about everything else. So where would the killer have to be standing to strike a victim? Fortunately, it would have to be in front of the victim. Killer had to be standing, well, here.
objection! You get points for flair, but that's about all you get. Ah!
I thought I was onto something there too.
I hardly need to point out that standing there would be impossible. The victim is facing a solid cupboard. Or are you claiming that the killer climbed the cupboard and hit him from above?
Well, that's simple logic, really. If this was the only place the killer could have been standing, then that means that, at the very moment of the crime...
Wait, I know!
At the moment of the crime, the cupboard wasn't there. What's this now? I mean, that's the only explanation. Right, Mr. Gavin? Your Honor, I have a suggestion for the defense. We should arrange to examine the cupboard in the hideout immediately. Bailiff, send a team to the crime scene immediately. Have them try to move the cupboard. Your Honor. What? There's one more thing your men should look for. Please give this to the bailiff. Yes, I see. You do belong in the courtroom after all, Mr. Wright. I do my best. Let's forge ahead here while we wait. Look at the diagram once more. It's been changed. If the killer was standing here at the time of the crime, then this cupboard wasn't here, which means... Apollo, try moving the cupboard.
Thank you. As you can see, the cupboard was a problem. At the time of the murder, it has to have been as shown here. Uh-oh. Now everything is in place to reconstruct the moment of a crime. Oh my. What's this? What is it now? Oh, take another look at the diagram of the crime scene. It appears we found yet one more contradiction. What I believe to be the final contradiction, in fact. Huh? Oh, dang. Notice something, Apollo? The line of deduction is rapidly approaching its logical conclusion. Now then, Mr. Justice, please point to the new contradiction indicated. Is it the victim, the killer, witness, the second witness? Which indicator in this diagram contradicts what we know about the crime? Uh-oh. Take that! About this cupboard. Are we all okay with assuming it was moved? Sure, why not? Well, if it was, something doesn't really fit. The cupboard would completely cover up the window to the stairs. Ah! That's right. Someone standing outside wouldn't be able to see in. Someone like Mr. Gavin. What did you say? Oh? Is the coolest defense in the West losing his cool? Don't expect me to play along with your little game, Wright. It's only a game until someone gets killed, Mr. Gavin. And someone was, while the window to that room was blocked by cover. So, Mr. Gavin, perhaps you'd like to explain to the court. Exactly where did you witness the crime scene from? Excuse me, Your Honor. Order! This is a court of law and I will have order. We just now received word from our investigative team at the Borscht Bull Club. They've examined the cupboard and the hideout, Your Honor. Oh? And what did they find? Well, Your Honor, it turns out there is a secret passage behind it. What? Yes. I believe I mentioned something of that sort before. This is one of the tricks to the room many of our regulars know about. I do remember him saying something about that now that he mentions it. A secret passage is a handy thing to have when you're engaged in illegal goings-ons. You never know what you might need to duck away from the eyes of the law. So the room has a secret passage. Where does it go? The other side connects to the restaurant above. The underworld bosses could get away from the cops. Enjoy a cold bowl of borscht, no doubt. Just like our killer. You see where our line of simple deductive reasoning has led us, Apollo? I see it, but I don't believe it. And that girl wasn't kidding when she said I needed this trump card for the last hand. At the time of the murder, the window was blocked, and the victim's hat was only off his head for the few minutes between Mr. Smith's murder and Mr. Wright's return from calling the cops. In other words, the only place anyone could have seen the victim's bald head was from inside the hideout. Well, Mr. Gavin? Come on, say something. Dare I ask what really happened that night? Actually, I think we can probably figure it out ourselves at this point. That night, for whatever reason, our killer had a date with Mr. Smith. A date with destiny. There he crouched, hidden in the secret passageway behind the cupboard, holding his breath, waiting for just the right moment. And the chance came, and he took it. Olga really was out cold, struck by Mr. Smith. His time was soon to come. Mr. Mr. Wright went upstairs to call the cops, leaving Mr. Shady Smith alone in the hideout with the unconscious dealer. The killer stepped out using the passage and into the hideout. The victim must have heard the cupboard sliding aside. He wheeled his chair around to look, and after the deed was done, the criminal must have seen the blood in the car. He would have, of course, realized the need to destroy the evidence. A single spot of blood, the whole story of the crime. Too bad for him, he didn't linger any longer in the hideout that night. If he had, he might have noticed the cards on the floor, and the fact that they were all red. Well, it seems this trial has taken yet another turn. I'm truly, truly sorry I had to see this day come, Mr. Gavin. Mr. Gavin? Mr. Payne! Yeah? Yes, Your Honor. The prosecution will continue its investigation. As for Mr. Phoenix Wright, the defendant is hereby cleared of all suspicion. Ah! Believe me when I say that I don't believe this is happening, Mr. Gavin. But I'm afraid circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest immediately.
Objection!
Objection! Oh, no need to apologize. I rather enjoyed myself. It's not every day you get to witness a legendary attorney's dirty tactics firsthand. Your point, Mr. Gavin? Frankly, Your Honor, I'm shocked that a person of your caliber would be taken in for such a low-grade parlor trick. Excuse me? The defendant is clearly of all suspicion. This is hardly the time for jokes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright hasn't proven anyone's guilt or innocence here. What he has done is use illegal evidence to put the blame on someone else. Not just anyone else, but me, his own defense attorney. Illegal evidence.
Objection!
Let me ask you, Mr. Gavin, is there still any reason at present to suspect me of wrongdoing? Of course. This bottle, for instance. A bottle of grape juice Mr. Wright was drinking. How do you intend to explain away the fingerprints on the murder weapon? And not just any fingerprints, am I right, Mr. Payne? Actually, yes. The fingerprints on the bottle were upside down. I seem to recall this being an issue earlier. Court in this case demand an explanation. Only one reason why one would hold the bottle upside down. That is to hit someone with the bottom of the bottle. Well, Your Honor? Ah, see how the caught fish squirms till the last? Well, Apollo? Yes! Your boss seems awfully concerned about this bottle stuff. But I'm sure you can come up with a suitable explanation. Just like that. Yeah. Just like, what? Why would anyone grab a bottle upside down? Don't let him trick you into thinking his explanation is the only legitimate. Is there really another? Take another look at the court record. I believe you'll find a simple answer there, in plain sight. How about you just say the answer in plain words? It would be hasty to deliver a verdict with unanswered questions, indeed. Well, Mr. Justice, Mr. Kevin said that the
court during this case demand an explanation. Don't worry, justice won't leave until justice is done. Perhaps the defense would care to enlighten the court? What evidence do you have to explain why the fingerprints on the bottle are upside down? Oh! Of course. Actually easier to show you than explain, Your Honor. Place that bottle on the floor next to your chair. Excuse me? On the floor? Yes. Now reach down and pick it up. Without getting out of your chair. Ah! See? You naturally go to pick up the bottle by its neck. With your fingers upside down. Look at the photograph taken on the night of the murder. Defendant Mr. Wright sat here, playing piano, bottles of grape juice on the floor to the side of his piano bench. He would have naturally picked up the bottles upside down several times. Wow, can't believe it was that simple. Recall our dinner that evening, Kristoff. I was drinking my usual juice then, too. Basically, you used the bottle on the table to do the deed. But then you must have remembered. So you went and picked up one of the bottles from under the piano. And you switched the bottles. You took one of Mr. Wright's bottles and made it look like the murder weapon. Order! 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 What do you have to say to these charges, Mr. Gavin? Ugh. Fascinating. So this is the legendary attorney's famed tactic of misdirection. What? You claim that I switched the bottle? Where is your proof? The proof? Well, that's, as I thought, more baseless conjecture. I'm afraid your bottle of proof is quite empty. Objection! I wouldn't be so sure about that. Your Honor, when you initiated the investigation of the hideout earlier, do you recall I requested an additional investigation? Ah, yes. I have your memo about that here. Retrieve the bottles from under the piano at the Forest Folk Club. And here's one of the bottles in question. What, are you going to dust that for fingerprints too? I'd be surprised if any were on that, but his. Probably wouldn't make such an obvious mistake, true. I wouldn't bear a trace of anything. Say, Apollo. Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and examine that bottle? But why? Just humor me. Mr. Wright? That bottle will solve this case once and for all. What? Some bottle. Aha! I had reasons to believe. You looked at the front. There's something in the back. There's something in this bottle, and it is a 5 of hearts. There's something inside the bottle. What's this? That card. It can't be. Recall that unpleasant woman's testimony for a moment. Miss Olga O'Reilly? Yes. Our little swindling Devotchka. That night, I played to the card like I was supposed to. Wright lost in his hand, just like he was supposed to. It's been searched. The planet card was gone. Trap failed. Wait, this isn't... You're telling me that this is the planet card you disposed of? The one you mentioned in this piece of testimony? I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found a card. Yes, and I snuck a peek at it and found it was a 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game. Disposed? Where? grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. Here's the card inside the bottle. 5 of hearts. This is the card. Bottles were swapped. The only one who could have done that was the 4th person in the club that night. You, Mr. Christoph Gavin. That is all. Is this your idea of revenge, Phoenix Wright? Revenge? Revenge for the events that took away your attorney's badge 7 years ago. My past is like my logic. Straight and true. Nothing's changed. All I did was point the finger of justice in the proper direction. Fine. I'm glad we could have this little teet-a-teet, right?
This is insane. What about me? Don't I get to prosecute anyone?
One sec. See if the king comes at someone. Alrighty. I believe this time we finally come to the end of our trial. Mr. Payne, do you have a report for us on Christoph Gavin?
He's admitted everything. We're processing his arrest now.
I see. Still, one has to wonder why he would do such a thing. He didn't even have a connection to the victim, did he?
None that we know of.
Mr. Wright, have you anything to add?
I'm afraid I can't shed any more light on the matter.
About this victim, Mr. Shady Smith. His occupation was listed as traveler, not professionally sure. And that's all we know about him.
I'll arrange a follow-up investigation, Your Honor.
Good. Mr. Wright? Yes? 7 years. You still haven't lost your touch. Christoph Gavin. A man with much significance for me. Both as a friend and a warrior. He was extremely talented, to be sure. I needed 2 things before I could confront him. First was a place where no injustice would be tolerated. His courtroom. Second was a man who would tolerate no injustice. In other words, defense attorney. You, Apollo.
Me?
This is a dark time for our legal system. Twisting of justice brought in by our very own initial trial system. We have to set it right. Mr. Wright, more work lies ahead of us, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. Well, this seems like a good time to announce the verdict. This court finds the defendant, Mr. Phoenix Wright, not guilty. Just a sec while I clear my throat, and then I will read off what really happened. Court is adjourned. Do I have this up and at the ready? Yes, I do. Alright. So we're going to take a quick little prelude over to Strategy Wiki, which has what really happened here. It was the night of the showdown when world traveler Shady Smith went to challenge undefeated poker champ Phoenix Wright. Smith thought he needed help, so he hired a professional gambler, Olga O'Reilly. She would slip a 5 of hearts card inside one of Phoenix's pockets, so when he wins,
Smith would check Phoenix's pockets and expose him as a cheater, ruining his reputation as an undefeated poker player, and that plan would backfire. Smith finally showed up after Phoenix had dinner with his friend Christoph Gavin, a defense attorney. Before the game, Phoenix noticed the trap card and put it in a grape bottle next to him near the piano. Olga took a picture of the men as they talked, Smith and Phoenix began the showdown. The game ended with two men both having full houses, with Smith getting an extra ace, making him look like the cheated. Phoenix won the game, so Smith started searching him. However, he couldn't find the trap card. Smith then took the bottle and knocked Olga out with it, angered and thinking she failed to carry out the plan. Phoenix goes upstairs to call the police. Shady took a seat while Phoenix was upstairs. Just then, a noise came behind him, as if a cabinet has moved. Smith turned around in his swivel chair and for some reason saw Christoph Gavin standing in front of him. Christoph held the grape juice bottle he got from upstairs and hit Smith's head with it, killing him almost instantly. Smith fell back in his seat and blood started dripping down the back of his head and onto the ace of spades. Christoph noticed the blood-lined ace and took it with him, and he replaced it with one of the blue cards, not aware that the cards were actually red. Christoph then replaced the murder weapon with Phoenix's fingerprinted bottle, unaware that a card was inside the former. He then turned the body back around in the swivel chair and left. After Christoph left, Phoenix came back down and found the body. Phoenix noticed that Smith's hand was changed, and he worked here for 7 years, so he knew about the secret passageway anyway. Therefore, he pretty much knew what had happened. He proceeded to tell Christoph on his cell phone what happened and record the conversation. Here, Christoph slipped up and mentioned Smith's bone china pate, leaving Phoenix to know he had done it. Phoenix modified the crime scene and put the hat on Smith so the crime scene pictures wouldn't contradict Christoph's recorded phone call, and was then arrested when the police arrived. Phoenix planned ahead for court. He asked his daughter to make a fake card for him to use. Phoenix then asked Christoph for his student, Apollo Justice, to be his defense, because he knew Christoph would not defend him properly on purpose. Phoenix would use Apollo to help him take on Christoph and ultimately take him down. Now back to the courtroom, April 20th at 4:28 p.m. at District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 3. Thanks, Apollo. You came through, just like I thought you would. I'm pretty sure I didn't do a thing in there. It was you who cornered Mr. Gap, the killer. I couldn't have done it by myself. You sensed it too today, didn't you? Your ability. Ability? Yes. A sensitivity I lack. You'll come to understand it soon enough. Wait, I wonder if it means... I have one question for the witness then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Of course it's true. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? What was that, Mr. Wright? You'll have to find the answer to that question yourself. The answer? Right. He was full of questions without answers. Most of them about Mr. Gavin. What possible reason could he have had to commit murder? Perhaps you'll learn that in the days to come. Huh? Wait, you don't know, do you? This locket is the key. Huh? Oh, that reminds me. I met the girl whose picture is in your locket. Your daughter, right? That's right. She is my daughter. You know, you were right about this locket. Huh? I took this off his neck the night he died. It looks like our dear Russian scam artist saw me. The truth is, this locket really did belong to him. Wait, but that's perjury! You testified. You said that locket was yours! I said no such thing, actually. Huh? I merely said that it was a locket with my daughter's picture inside. A subtle distinction, but a distinction nonetheless. And it's true.
But then, why? Why was the victim wearing a locket with a picture of your daughter inside it?
Sometimes the straightest path to the truth isn't the best one. Give it time. You're still just getting started with your career.
Speaking of which, I may be out of a job. I work for Gavin Law Offices, after all. I still can't believe I just saw Mr. Gavin get led away in handcuffs.
Apollo,
Yes?
how about coming to work for me?
Huh? You mean at the Wright & Co. law offices? I mean, there's not a single attorney in my generation that doesn't know it.
I can't imagine that to be true, but...
Wait, didn't you... You're not a...
Oh, I turned in my badge, yes. I'm not an attorney anymore.
An incident 7 years ago. A legendary trial. At the middle of it all was one man, Phoenix Wright. The case reached its sad conclusion, and he left the law for good. Have you ever thought about coming back to the courts?
I'm not qualified to stand in a court of law, I'm afraid. Didn't you notice in today's trial? There was a single piece of forged evidence.
Forged evidence? What are you talking about?
I'm talking about evidence that shouldn't have existed. A naughty magician's trick.
A piece of evidence struck me as odd, that's true. It just seemed, well, too perfect. I bet that was forged evidence. Take that! You mean this, don't you? I got this from your daughter, Mr. Wright.
Yes. That card couldn't have been found at the crime scene. Why? Because the killer took it with him when he left, leaving the wrong card in its place. Luckily for us.
Court can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud. A fraud? How can you be so sure? I would think the only person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene, the real killer.
My verdict was already handed down 7 years ago.
Then, you really...
I forged this card. One look at the crime scene should have told you it wasn't real.
But you can't do something like that. You call yourself an attorney.
Who's calling themselves an attorney, Apollo?
So it's true. The rumor is true. 7 years ago.
None of that matters much now, does it?
Ah!
I punched him. It's your story from here on out, Apollo. Perhaps I can help you turn the next page. My office's address. Drop in, if you'd like.
Mr. Wright,
Oh, about your uppercut. Try yelling, "Take that," next time. I find it packs a little more punch. Apollo, thanks for today. I had a good time.
and with that, Mr. Wright walked out the door. And that's how the first trial ended. A lot of mysteries went unsolved, and at the time, I had no idea they were all related. Every mystery that day connected by a single thread of logic. I'd find that out soon enough. My name is Apollo Justice, attorney at law, and this is how my story begins. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the end of Chapter 1. Turnabout Trump has been completed. And that, I do believe, is going to be it for the stream. I do apologize again. This was a fairly shorter stream.
I do know the other chapters in this take a little bit longer and do have more parts, as you know. Go ahead and return back to the games menu from here. And yeah. Next up, on Tuesday, February 13th, we will start episode 2, Turnabout Corner. And we're going to try to get through all of this as best as I can in that 1 6-hour block. But for now, I do want to thank you very much for watching. This, unfortunately, is going to be it for the stream tonight. On behalf of myself and everyone at the Metronome, I just want to thank you very much for watching. Just going to get a note in here to make sure we have that tacked on. And then we're going to go over here to end stream. And unfortunately, if it were not for the fact that I'm going to be live later on tonight, I would be doing a raid right about now. You know what? Let's actually go and see who is alive. So I might be able to see if I can bring you on over to someone else for a little bit. I will be live over at twitch.tv/LordNavasa at 6 o'clock. But outside of that, I think that's going to be calling it for stream night for me tonight. I do apologize. I was planning on doing another stream later on, but I might just rest up and just do the recording instead of streaming. Anyway, if I do go live, it will be later on tonight at 6 o'clock. If not, it'll be for sure on Tuesday, and then Thursday, Saturday, 3 p.m. for all 3 of those times. And then next Sunday, February 18th, Minecraft Survival Sunday returns. Other than that, I do not have a raid target tonight, but I do have an idea. Let's see if there's anyone else who is alive. Playing through stuff that I've been playing through, and doesn't look like there's much of anything, sadly. You know what? We're gonna spin on over to Minecraft. I know exactly best person to rate it in this circumstance, and that is going to be we're going to jump on over and hop on board over to Hermitcraft live stream event for the rest of the afternoon. On behalf of myself and everyone at the Metronome, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next adventure. Take care, everybody.